and welcome to Warrior Werks. I want to do a quick video. I have to put back together that display case that I was talking about before. I guess too much time passes. My wife has been bugging me about it the past couple days. The cover is sitting on the floor and she doesn't want it ruined, and more importantly, she wants the rest of the things that are in there protected again. So, and at the end of this video, I'll kind of pan over that display case just to show you what's in there. Nothing great. I mean, we also collect a few Alaskan, the Yupik baskets, grass baskets, and in that display case, I also have a dragon that's carved out of a hippopotamus tooth that I got in trade for I think one or two of my masks when I was like 23 years old or so. I didn't realize the significance of how nice that was until, of course, later on, but I knew it was cool. But anyways, this is a Balisong, what we call a butterfly knife, I guess. But this is from the region in the Philippines. I ordered this off of eBay in the late 90s. And this was from the Philippines. And it was made by, handmade by a craftsman there in the Philippines. And man, I want to say I paid like $20 for this. And to me, it was just amazing to be able to get something handmade like this that has this kind of artisanship to it. I mean, the pin work, everything about this knife screams that it was made by somebody who knew what he was doing. And I wish I knew what kind of wood that was. It almost looks like Padauk, but Padauk isn't from that area, and Padauk turns brown over time. It doesn't stay red. This is obviously some kind of tropical type wood that they use down there. Though it gets better than this. This thing is huge. And I know now they make patterns, people make patterns similar to this. This is kind of indicative of the region that I guess is known for creating the Balisongs out of like broken blades and things like that. I guess the history is when they had knives and the handle broke off. They wanted to make a way to be able to salvage the metal because it was so precious. They ended up using like deer horns, and I think the word or the name kind of incorporates like broken antler or something like that, or horn. And I want to say, and I'll try to remember to put it on the screen, but I think it's from Batangas in the Philippines. Ooh, sorry, Warrior dude. Again, that depth perception thing, sitting here spinning the blade around. But super cool knife. The only markings I could find on it were on each side. There's a line and an X. If anybody knows anything more about these, hopefully it doesn't go down that same fate or path of that bat knife, but I don't think so. I mean, this was shipped directly from the Philippines, and man, this thing is just like razor sharp. The grinds on it and everything, it's a cool knife. You hear that, it's just solid when you put it together. You look at the brass, the way it was bent, and somebody knew what they were doing. It just goes together perfectly. Now, oops. Also, I ordered these off of eBay, these print blocks off of eBay, and they're colonial prints, or block presses, I think is what they were labeled as. And I picked a lot that had the things that had something called the stag. And I don't know if that was their like fake stag that Colonial used on their handles and things like that, but this, I don't know, it was supposed to go in these empty areas. It looks like a negative block. I don't know how that was to work. And here's something similar, but this has a lot more detail in the stag and the knives, and it says in really proud letters, the stag pocket knife. Let me bring that up. Deluxe. And of course there's these single knives, and they're pretty, I guess they're raised, but not that much, so it's hard to do a print with these, and I tried with every one of them. This one probably does the best print out of those knives, or I'm sorry, this one does. But out of all the block presses, this one does the best printing, or I guess manual by hand stamps on paper. And I had to be a little creative because putting it on a flat surface and pressing down, it wasn't getting all the detail from the knives and a few other things. So I put a cloth underneath a piece of paper, and of course that means it creases a little bit, but I was able to apply a little bit more pressure. And I'm able to produce these cards. I think those look great. And as of this week, I've been including one of these in the boxes that I'm shipping out instead of just a generic card. I thought that'd be a pretty neat piece of history to share and for people to, you know, have, and makes it a little more personal. Speaking of personal, I want to acknowledge I did a trade with one of the subscribers. I don't want to say his name, you know, but you know who you are, and I want to make sure that you knew I was appreciative of the things that you sent. So the trade that I received was a Kershaw deer hunter. And after he saw my video of the Kershaw moose hunter, he says, "Hey, I got the smaller version of that if you want to trade." And I said, "Send me an email." And I've been wanting one of these deer hunters. So now I have the moose hunter, the deer hunter, and the 1050 pocket folder. My 1050 has a crack in it. I want to replace it eventually. I mean, I guess that's a plan, but if I don't, at least I still have it. And in addition to him sending this, you know, out of the goodness of his heart, he sent me a Cutmaster Hawkbill, blades in unused condition. I mean, it may be a little bit minor use, but there's nothing missing from the edge of it. And these are always cool knives to have. Definitely a very predominant shape to it. But he also sent me this, and this is probably the coolest thing aside from the knife. And of course I just touched what I just pressed that with, and I got more ink on my hands, so oh well. He sent me this beautiful cross, and you know, I looked at it, and there's some inscribing in the back, or some words in the back that are kind of hard to see, but it does say Italy. And obviously I think this is silver, and for him to, not because of the value of silver, but for the value of what this probably meant to somebody now means to my family is fantastic that he cared enough to send that. So thank you very much. And if you want, you can chime in on the comments and say that was you and let people know. I just want to say your name I want to respect that. Now, real quick, stop by another antique store, one that I never been to before, and it's a newer one. They didn't have many knives, but I did end up finding this. And this was sent from the Sportsman's Post in Madison, New York. I can't see the date of the stamping. That would kind of be a cool thing because that would tell me how old this actually is. And it was displayed like this, and this is, as you can see, in mint condition. And this is called a Speedy Stitch. And I have one of the newer one of these. This is how I put all my slips together. And my initial thought was I'd use this as a backup because it was only like for 35, but I got it for 25. And look at these instructions. I mean, just fantastic instructions. But the coolest thing is on the bottom of the other page. I mean, it talks about the product itself. Says it has 2 extra needles, wax thread, and minimum order $1. Then it says Sportsman's Post, 366 Madison Avenue. They stamped that themselves on the bottom. The distributor stamped, hand stamped that on the bottom of these instructions. And I need to find a way to be able to preserve this. I think it's very cool. And it has the 2 needles still in there. The wood's shrunk just a little bit over the ears, so this collar is a little loose. And this is really tight, but it still has original thread in there. I was super stoked to get that. I don't think I'm going to use it. I think I'm just going to set it aside. And brought up I'd share another Filipino knife. Craftsmanship is cool, but it's not as refined as a Balisong. And these are their fighting knives, my understanding. And that shape is just cool. When you hold it, it feels like it just wants to cut. This has a really, I would say, not a good heat-treated edge. I try to sharpen it, but I think this is more towards mild steel. And I mean, but still a cool piece of craftsmanship from the Philippines. And that was from a good friend of mine as well. Man, I'm sorry, Warrior Dude. Second time, won't happen a third, at least in this video. So, last thing I thought I'd share before I end the video, I want to try to keep this under the 20-minute mark, and we're shooting at 14 now, so I think I'm doing all right. End up getting this, and I want to clean this up. This pretty cool knife. A nail breaker, of course. Ouch. Beautiful spear point blade. Awesome handles. I don't know what those are yet. But it is a E.C. Simmons keen cutter. You could see that the meat of all of that blade is still there. And listen to that snap. Secondary blade, and literally, that is a nail breaker. I just broke my nail. Secondary blade is in really good shape as well. This one was probably used more, but good snap. You know, I got it in, I dropped a few drops of oil in there before I start opening and closing it. But as you can see from the rusty pins, those pins are steel. So very older manufacturing. I don't know too much about the date stamp and things on those keen cutters, but I know it's old. So anyways, that's what I wanted to share with you, so I can go and put this back in the display. I'll take my camera and I'll show you, I'll pan over some of the things in the display case so you guys can see them. But I appreciate you guys tuning in. I appreciate you guys sticking around. And if you guys could please give me a thumbs up, a like if you like these type of videos. A little more easygoing than the shop. I don't have really much to share other than that. You know what? I've just passed the 15-minute mark, and of course I never fail to, you know, surprise myself at how much I can talk. But I guess might as well now. It's Saturday, so stagger day. I got this knife. This is a very cool knife, and this is a, when you look at the tang stamp, I want to try to see if I can clean it before I show it. So it's a Fred Mack Overland. So Fred Mack, Germany, is the maker of this knife, and these are supposed to be some pretty cool collectible knives. Very, very cool looking knife. I don't have the original sheath. When I got it, it was in this, and yeah, it covers a blade, you know, so. But the cool thing about this knife, the thing I wanted to talk about this knife is Mack is my grandmother's maiden name. And my grandmother is German, or was German before she passed. And I thought it was pretty cool because I'm sure that's a common name over in Germany. But for me to have a knife that has my grandmother's maiden name stamped on there, even if there's no connection at all, it says Germany, it says Mack. And to me, what that does is that brings back some good memories of my grandmother and, you know, stories that she had told of her and her mother and some of the struggles that they went through in Germany and how much difference it made to her when she moved to the US with my dad. So those were good stories to hear, especially since I didn't know my dad personally, but I knew my grandmother intimately. She was a very loving woman who wanted just nothing better for myself and for my kids. And, you know, I sincerely miss her. She passed away in 2015. This past year marked 10 years she had passed. But this brings back some good memories. Even though the knife absolutely had zero connection to her, it brings back good memories because of the name that's on the blade itself. But this time, I got 1 minute. I'm gonna pan over that stuff. That should keep me a little under 20 minutes or a little over. But again, have a good day. Thank you guys. Bye. All right, well, I forgot something. So, also said I would talk about my first hobo that I brought with me on a bunch of trips. And this is the hobo that has a spoon. And I cleaned this up because I have no intention of using it, at least the way it was used by me for the previous years. Same type of mechanism. You open, get the outside pieces, which are the fork and the spoon, and you're left with a knife that has a lock and keys. And those acoustics on that are just crazy. Ouch. So when I ordered these, I ordered two. Ordered one from my younger brother who would always go hunting with me. And his got stolen. I don't know what happened. He might either misplaced it, but he says somebody stole it. Really unique hobo, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace this in my display, or put this in display and replace the Ivory woodmanship hobo, so I can keep the ivory and the buffalo horn together in my display cabinet and keep this together with my other case hobos, because I'm simply not going to use this anymore. I'd like to keep it in that display right next to them, just because. But I wanted to add that. I didn't want to pan over the video and show this in there instead of that other one without explanation or without me showing you what this knife looked like, as I promised I would in the previous video. Thank you. So I'll start up here at the top, and this display case used to hold a mask, and I retrofitted it. It had walnut around most of it, and I put what I could when we lived out in Hooper Bay, and I put pine, and my intention was to change it out to walnut eventually. I guess I still want to do that, but time doesn't permit stuff of wants a lot of times, so this falls short on that, or falls further down that list. But here's the hobos. Starting from the left to the right is the one with the spoon and the fork, stag, the barbed wire. My father-in-law made me these my wife and I, these sets of little ulus with moose antler. It's a Balisong. I made this for my wife. It's tulip wood, hand carved, and I tried to do a little jeweling on the blade. This is out of a saw blade. Made that when I was pretty young. And here's the police trappers. Lonely, needing the company of the rest of them, so if any of you guys know where there are more, let me know. Now, coming over here, I got some baskets that are really important to me. They're made by my great aunt and my grandmother. These are Yupik baskets made from beach grass. And then you got one made by an elder that we respect in Hooper Bay. The black one's made by my mom, as is the one next to it, the heart, that's my daughter's. My aunt made that really small one. And another elder that's, I think, probably one of the best basket weavers or grass weavers in Alaska that's alive, made those right there. And we got more coming down here made by family and my aunts. I got that coin the year my son was born in 2000. That's the year of the dragon. I'm 76, so I'm also dragon. But that's 5 ounces of silver. Talk about a good investment. My aunt made those small baskets, or no, my wife found those small baskets at a garage sale for like 25 cents each. And here's that dragon that I was telling you guys about that was carved out of that tooth. At least that's what I was told by the owner. It does look like ivory. It doesn't look like plastic. And this, he said this was old. And then we got this other basket. It's not Yupik. It's from the Aleutian chains, and they're called Unungan. and they are known for their really tight weaves on their baskets. Another basket made by my aunt, and then another one made by the same elder who made the ones I showed up on the middle shelf. But anyways, these are probably, I wouldn't say the most prized, but the basket's definitely the most prized of our basket collection, just because of where they come from, family and, you know, people that we know. And, you know, this is one of my favorite things. This is why I made it in here, and I think it has some of the most value. But a quick tip, if you guys never heard of museum wax, there's some right there, and that holds that still just in case there's earthquakes or anything. And I got some under each one of the plastic pieces, not so much the baskets themselves, which I don't think they would hurt the baskets, but all of the things that are on here have museum wax on the bottom of them. Keeps them from moving, knocking over, and, you know, just, I guess, falling over and breaking if this was not covered by a piece of wood and glass. Thank you for letting me share.